On this video, I'm going to share with you the do's and don'ts about buying at property auction. Many investors make big mistakes when buying at auction, but there are some opportunities if you know what you're doing. So listen very carefully. Now, my name is Simon Zutshi. I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon #1 property bestseller. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network, the largest network of property investors all over the UK, and I've been investing in property for over 25 years. Now, why would someone sell at auction? Why would someone buy at auction? What are the different times you could buy? What are the problems people make? That's what I'm going to be covering in this video. So first of all, why on earth would we buy at auction? Well, as investors, we go to an auction because we're generally looking for a deal. Now, there are definitely deals to be had at auction, but most investors get this all wrong, and I help you avoid some of the common mistakes that people make by explaining what you need to do and what you shouldn't do in this video. Why do people sell property at auctions? Well, there are three reasons why someone would put a property into an auction. The first reason is if they get someone to successfully bid on the property, then the transaction can happen in 28 days. So when you go and bid, you're successful, the hammer goes down, that very day you exchange contracts and you have 28 days to complete. So if you're someone who wants to sell a property quickly, an auction can be a very good way of doing that. That's the first reason why people sell property in auction. The second reason why people sell property in auctions is because they want to get lots and lots of people viewing that property, people who are looking for a deal, knowing that the more people who see it, there's going to be more competition, and there's a really good chance that the price gets bid up because people start competing, they get emotional, and sometimes they pay more than the property's actually worth. So some people put properties into an auction because they know they're going to get a nice high price. Now, the way they do that, the way they entice people to come and bid in the auction is they put in a very low offer price. And it's a guide price. So the idea is the auctioneer is saying, we think this property is going to sell at this guide price. Now, if it's a nice low price, a lot of investors think, hey, that looks like a really good deal. I'm going to go into that auction bid and get myself a real bargain. Now, just because a property is listed at a guide price, it doesn't mean you're going to get it for that low price. In reality, there's always a reserve. And certainly in the UK, the reserve can be no more than the guide price. So let's say someone sets a guide price of £100,000. The reserve can be no more than 110. And 110 is the price. If it doesn't get to 110, the property will not be sold in the auction. If it goes over 110, whoever makes the winning bid, they will be buying the property and they'll be exchanging that day. So just be careful. If you think you're going to get a deal because it's a nice low guide price, doesn't mean it's going to sell for that. In fact, I've seen many people buy properties in an auction for more than they could have bought it before the auction. Because very often properties are stuck with estate agents, they're not selling, it goes into the auction, people come, they bid, the price goes up, and they could have bought it for less money than they pay now before the auction. So it suggests they're not really doing their research. Doing your research and due diligence is really, really important. You've always got to check the legal pack. It's something that we prepared, and you need to make sure your solicitor goes through it, and in particular looks at what's called the special conditions. Now in the special conditions it will say how long you've got to complete. Typically it's 28 days, but it might be 14. Also it might say things like you've got to pay the fees of the seller. Some auction houses also add a fee, extra fee you have to pay to them. So make sure you read the special conditions very, very carefully, get your solicitor to check them. And on the day of the auction, they'll often put out an addendum. You need to make sure you read the addendum to see if there have been any changes. The third reason people sell a property in an auction is because it is a problem property. There's something wrong with it. Maybe something structural, maybe something wrong with the tenants or the tenancies, and it's a problem property someone wants to get rid of. So this is why you have to be very careful, and this is why your due diligence is important, and make sure you look at the legal pack and get a lawyer to look at it for you as well. So those are the three reasons why people sell in auction. So what should we do? When's the best time to buy? Well, there are also three times that we can buy in an auction. Obviously, we can buy on the day, in the room, and that can work well depending the time of year, depending who else is in the room. So you can absolutely buy deals at auction. The problem is, as I said, often there are lots of people who want to bid up the price and people end up paying too much. So there are two other times you can also buy. As well as in the room on the day, you can also buy before the auction. You see a property listed in the auction catalogue, often they'll have viewings. You can go around on the viewings with everyone else, look at the property, and you can put an offer into the owner. Now, if they accept your offer, it will probably be subject to you exchanging before the day of the auction and also completing under auction terms, i.e. within 28 days. You see, what the owner doesn't want to do is say, yes, I'll take your offer, and then you mess around and you don't exchange before the auction, then you change your mind after the auction, suddenly they've got to wait a couple of months to put it into the next auction. So you've got to show that you can move quickly and do a really good deal for the seller. Now, the seller might want to wait until the auction day to see if they can get someone offering more money. So if you do make an offer, it should probably be something you definitely want to go for, and it should be a good price going to work for you and the seller, but say, look, this is the offer. If you leave it until the auction and you don't sell, that offer's not going to be on the table. So you're trying to play, a bit of the fear game to say, well, look, you might sell for more in the auction, but if you don't, I'm not going to offer this amount of money. I want to do the deal now. I don't want to be sitting in the auction room. I want to get a deal done. And there are some people who will take the bird in the hand, so to speak, rather than try and get more money at the auction, and they might accept your offer. The third time, the best time, I believe, to buy an auction property is after the auction. So you can do it in the auction, before the auction. The third time is after the auction. Maybe it hasn't sold. Now just think about this for a minute. The owner put the property into the auction for a reason. Maybe they wanted a fast sale. Maybe they wanted to get a higher price, lots of people bidding, or maybe they've got a problem with it, they just want to get rid of this property. The fact it hasn't sold in the auction, they're going to be more motivated. And as you know, if you've watched my videos before or read my book, Property Magic, we always want to work with motivated sellers. People for whom the speed and certainty might be more important than the amount of money they actually get from the sale of the property. So after the auction, it hasn't sold, and you should go back to the owner, go back to the auction and say, look, I'm still interested in this property. What can we do? Many of my clients have picked up deals after the auction because that seller's become more motivated. Now, of course, there are other people who are competing and who might also approach the owner after the auction. But if you've got a good rapport with the auctioneer or you've spoken to the seller, maybe they will come with you, and if you do a quick deal, you might get a great deal out of that auction. So there are a few do's and don'ts here. Hopefully you've got some of these. First of all, I don't think it's a great idea to be doing it in the day on the room because you've got this competition. If you do want to go into the auction, make sure you know exactly what you can afford to go up to. What's the highest price you can pay and still make it a good deal? And if the bidding goes up to that price and beyond that price, you need to sit on your hands and do not bid. Say, okay, I've missed out on this one, knowing that someone else is probably paying too much for that property. So don't become a motivated buyer. That's the first thing. Make sure you always do your due diligence and your research. Check the legal pack. Check the addendum on the day. And another thing you should do is on the day of the auction, have a quick drive by the property, make sure it's still there and everything's okay. What do I mean by that? Surely it's going to be still there. Well, in the past, sometimes fires have happened, accidents have happened, and a property has been burnt out, and someone's gone and bid at the auction, thinking they're getting this nice property they saw a week ago, not realizing the whole thing's burnt down. So check on the day that it's all okay, because when the hammer goes down, you are exchanging contracts, you are committed to buy that property. Your 10% deposit goes down, and then obviously within 28 days you have to complete. So with that in mind, you want to get your finance lined up. You might be buying cash, which you could certainly do, although it's maybe not good to tie that cash up in that property. Remember, you'll have to hold on to it for at least 6 months before you can refinance. Or maybe you could use bridging. You use companies such as crowdproperty.com who can help you fund that project. Might be a good way of buying it, refurbing it, and then either renting it out and refinancing or selling it on the open market again. But make sure you've got your finance lined up. The other thing you need to do is the day you exchange, you must have insurance ready. You know, you're committing to buy that property. Something might happen between exchange and completion. You still have to buy at the price agreed, and so you want to make sure the thing is properly insured. So those are some hints and tips about buying at auction. I personally think it's better to have less competition, to be buying from motivated sellers, going direct to vendor through all the different marketing strategies you can use. I've talked about a lot of those on my Property Magic podcast, which you should subscribe to, and also there are lots of videos on this YouTube channel. So I do hope these do's and don'ts about buying property at auction has been really useful for you. If you've liked it, please hit the like button, maybe subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you're notified anytime a new video comes out. And please put some comments below and I'll come and answer as many questions as I possibly can. So until next time, invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I do hope you've got massive value from watching this YouTube video. And if you have, I've got a recommendation for you how you can get a whole load of extra quality training from me at no cost. So I have the Property Magic podcast that comes out every Tuesday morning. It's completely free of charge. And I share some of the secrets that I normally only share on my Property Mastermind program. So you can click on the link below in the description to get access to this podcast, or you can just go and look on iTunes. You can pick it up, or if you've got an Android phone, go to Google Play or even on Spotify. And I highly recommend you subscribe to that podcast because it's a short 10 to 15 minutes every Tuesday morning. You'll have me in your ear, motivating you, sharing some of the best strategies. And we've got well over 70 episodes there, so you can go and binge on those. And I promise you, if you listen to all of those, maybe one a day for a couple of months, you will know far more than the average investor in the UK. So go and check out the Property Magic podcast. And I've also lined up another video for you to watch, which I think you're going to find really useful. So invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you in the next video.